Welcome to our new episode of Rethink Life. We are sponsored by the Institute of Metaphysical Science. You can find us at scientificmetaphysics.org. And tonight's episode is all about help. Help. Can metaphysical science help me? So Betty gets calls all the time with all kinds of different issues. And the question is, I need help. Can this help? Can scientific metaphysics help me here? Can metaphysical science help me there? And so today, rather than focus on a specific thing, we're going to focus on a whole bunch of stuff to give you guys all kinds of ideas about how scientific metaphysics makes a difference. So welcome, Betty. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. So to kick off our conversation, what's one of the things that you get here all the time about help? What's an example?
Well, physical well-being, health.
Okay.
I got a call about blood pressure.
Okay.
Blood pressure is going up and it's not a good sign, et cetera, et cetera.
So, okay. Very good. So let's start looking at that. Apply it to high blood pressure. So very good. So what can I do, right? Does scientific metaphysics, metaphysical science help with that? So in Christian Science Re-Explored, Margaret Laird said, "We are healed only in the discovery and self-conscious living of our divinity." How does that apply to that question?
Well, if I discover who I am from the metaphysical point of view, for instance, rather than just the thing I see in the mirror, who am I being? If I discover my being is actually divine, even though I look at it and call it Betty and think it's a two-legged thing, that's not accurate. Whose being is divine. And the way that looks to me at the moment is this thing I call Betty. It's the label I've got to work with here.
Could I say it's that thing I call high blood pressure?
No, but if I think that the thing called Betty, which looks like something very confined in a specific location, sitting in a chair, talking on the live cast and that sort of thing. If I think that's what's Betty, then that is the thing that gets high blood pressure. The belief system about that is that it's very fallible. It's very subject to this and that and everything else that comes down the pike. So I can address high blood pressure, and we do it all the time. We have all kinds of remedies being offered to handle high blood pressure. From the metaphysical point of view, if I leave Betty alone, just kind of, Betty, sit there and be good. And then I sit and just be present to what's actually being that has Betty occur. That being is divine, and it's whole, and it's perfect. And it has no blood pressure problem. It is not something with blood pressure.
Okay.
If you haven't got any blood, you haven't got any pressure.
Okay. So then there's another statement, Christian Science Re-Explored, page 183, that says the value of any concept pointing to the welfare of humanity lies in the fact that health or wholeness creates the sickness and its cure as identity.
Yeah. The thing that, this is skipping around a lot, but a lot of you are seasoned students of metaphysics, so you probably can keep up with all this jumping around we're going to be doing. But, when you recognize, and in the thing that you read, you can see it on the screen, she's talking about health with a capital H and wholeness with a capital W. We're not talking about, my toe hurts. We're talking about perfect health. We're talking not about something that's partly one way and partly another. We're talking about whole, complete, fulfilled, satisfied being, presencing. That's the being that has you show up calling yourself Kim or Betty.
Right. So tell me how that helps me deal with my high blood pressure.
Yeah. If I leave the Betty alone, just leave her alone. and just for a few seconds, begin to reckon with the being that's present, that has Betty show up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that is demanding acknowledgement, if I can put it that way. When I can see that the Betty is like my piece to play the game, but that whose being, Betty, is divine being, perfect, whole, complete, fulfilled, satisfied, joyous, free. That's what's actually present.
Mm-hmm.
When I quiet down the attention to the Betty picture, that's what's present. And that's what has Betty show up. And Betty shows up just fine when my attention is not on Betty. So the more I can, Margaret Laird had a saying, get out of yourself and into God. Well, that's what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You just stop fussing with this thing, two-legged thing that you see in the mirror. And you start saying, wait a minute, something has that occur.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that something is just fine. Whole, nothing needed, nothing hurting, nothing missing.
Mm-hmm.
So on.
Okay. Well, very good. So what's another thing that you hear people asking about or that call about or whatever? What's another one?
Well, you know me, I walk around the house and lose my glasses quite often.
Uh-huh.
They disappeared when you were visiting recently. They disappeared and they stayed disappeared for a couple of days.
Right.
And I looked everywhere that I could think of to look. It's not that big of a house, I couldn't find them. And so I thought, well, they haven't gone anywhere for sure. And mind does know where they are. And that same mind, that same functioning intelligence is what has Betty occur. So the glasses are just fine. And I'm going to leave it alone. And I went about my business. I used some old glasses that I had. They were fine for temporary use. And the next morning, when I got up, I don't know where it came from, of course, but here it is. The thought occurred to me, you were working out in the yard, Betty, out in the patio, and you were raking up leaves and you were trimming bushes and all that stuff, Take a look. So I walked around the patio, walked around the yard. I did not see the glasses. So I came back in and thought, well, heck, they'll show up. I just continued to leave it alone. And as I was fixing or preparing something in the kitchen, I realized that I gathered up all that stuff that I'd been trimming and so on in the garden and put it in the trash. And I thought, aha. And I went out to the garage and opened the trash bin. And there were the glasses hung up in a couple of branches that were in the trash. Right there. I just thank you and closed it and went in the house.
Yeah.
The answers are there. The thing that we learn in the study of metaphysical science is that there is an intelligence functioning that actually constitutes your being. And that intelligence does know. There's no guesswork in it.
Right.
If you can get Betty quiet enough and just be a listening, the answers come.
Right.
So that's another example.
Yeah, very good. Now, if any of this is resonating with you guys, making a difference or whatever, you can like or you can heart on Facebook this conversation. We love to get those. So if that strikes you to do that, then go ahead. If you want to ask a question, just type it into the comments box and those will come through and we'll be able to answer them. They'll be a little bit delayed, but they'll be there. So feel free to do that. We welcome it. Now, some people call you. Like they'll call you for help or assistance or call in a practitioner. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's the value of that?
Well, for one thing, it gives you a new focus. It gets your attention off of the captivating, thing that's got you stuck.
Mm-hmm.
whatever the problem seems to be.
Yep.
And it's a willingness to let go of all the stuff you've got going on and see if there's something other than that you could pay attention to.
Okay.
So that's why people call.
Okay. Well, and
we discuss it from the standpoint of metaphysics.
Sure. And in CSR, Margaret Laird says, in the understanding in which there is neither practitioner nor patient, the practitioner is power, truth itself. So unpack that for me a bit.
Yeah, the thing you need to know is you think you're calling something for help, but that's the language, that's the way it looks. But the power and the presence is in you yourself, in the being that you are. And that's the thing that actually shines forth. You know, Margaret used to say that people that came to Jesus for help were healed before they met Jesus. Mm-hmm. It's the willingness to open up. It's the willingness to have it occur. It's the willingness to have it change or fix or disappear or show up or whatever the thing is needed.
Right.
And in just a tiny, tiny degree, when you are willing to let it show up, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. And that speaks, right. Well, that speaks to the divinity that you are. And when you can stop arguing and judging and having your opinions and all that stuff, and you just allow and are willing to have it be exactly the way it is, that's when inspiration sort of strikes. It's when new possibilities arise for you. And that's in your own being. Your own divinity calls that forth. And whether it takes the look of a practitioner or an aspirin, it makes no difference.
If it is successful in taking you out of yourself.
Right. Right.
And aspirin often doesn't do that.
No, but you know what I'm saying, though? It can take all kinds of looks. It's the footsteps, the human footsteps is all I'm trying to say there.
Right.
Right.
Look, I had to be willing to open up the trash bin.
Right.
To get my glasses.
Sure. And there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what's another one? So you got your glasses, and we've handled high blood pressure now. So lost glasses and high blood pressure completely within the realm of metaphysical science to make a difference with. What's another one?
I've had quite a few calls in the last few weeks on relationships.
Okay. And what about relationships specifically?
Yeah, well, relationships really are dealing with the belief that we have that we are this two-legged thing, one among millions of two-legged things. Mm-hmm. Somehow we have to do something about the way we look or the way we feel or the way we talk or the way we behave.
Yep.
To have harmony, to have joy, to have friendship, to have companionship.
Right.
To live in the world.
Yeah.
And we think it all hinges on this two-legged thing and making it better or prettier or fatter or thinner or something.
Right.
And actually, it's when you can leave that alone and just be willing to see that there's a divinity present, calling itself you and me. And that divine presence is the generation of harmony. Mm-hmm. That presence is whole, it's purposeful, it's constitutional, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing that you can come up with that doesn't have an answer when you can be present as that divine being.
Right. And that's apparent, that becomes apparent in any relationship. So, for instance, it strikes me that it's not just about your relationship with another. It's about, it can even look at your relationship with what looks like a completely divided world.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all
relationship with your government.
Yeah.
Your relationship with the world.
That's
exactly.
Correct. Exactly. No matter what that viewpoint is. So
and the thing that's hard about that a lot of times is that you have a picture, you know, like Betty, the two-legged thing, always has some opinion or a judgment or a consideration about, well, if only it would look this way, or if only he had gone over there and done that, then things would be different.
Right.
If only they would stop doing that, then life would be better.
Right.
If only I could go over there and have that instead of what I have here, then it would be better.
Yeah. And so you're thinking about, you're judging, you're doing all that. And there's a quote that also from CSR from Margaret Laird, it says, thinking about being negates being, since thinking and being is one and the same.
That's right. So when you're thinking about, you know that you're still being the two-legged animal.
Mm-hmm.
When you're willing to listen and be the thinking that is divine being present, being you.
Yep.
Just being present to that idea.
Yeah.
Takes you right out of Betty and her good opinions, and you can leave them alone.
Yeah.
And in that moment, and it's like just a snap of a finger. It isn't like I have to spend 2 days and a night figuring that out.
Right.
I can just be quiet for an instant and recognize and acknowledge that divine presence that has me occur.
Mm-hmm.
Just in that flash, everything shifts.
Yeah.
And I find there are answers that I would never have thought of any other way.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Okay, so now we've got relationships. We got finding the glasses, the missing glasses or keys or whatever you have there. And we've got, what was the first one? Sick. I don't feel well. Okay, so we've got all that stuff. So, or high blood pressure. So now what's another one?
What about employment, job?
Okay, like needing a job or you want a raise?
Either way.
Okay, needing a job, you want a raise, or you're out of work, whatever. Okay, let's talk about that. So one of the things, let's look at this quote. So from Margaret Laird, today the healing power of truth is widely demonstrated as an immanent eternal science instead of a phenomenal exhibition. So a phenomenal exhibition would be the appearance of a new job.
Yeah, healing.
Okay, yeah, well, okay, my illness is I want a job or I want a raise, or whatever, and or that's my discomfort. So then phenomenal exhibition would be, hey, I got a new job out of the blue or whatever, right?
Yeah. That statement, by the way, is a quote of Victor Young.
Okay.
Margaret Laird.
Excellent. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. The thing that relates to a job is that we have it connected to a status symbol.
Mm-hmm.
We have it connected to money.
Mm-hmm.
We have it responsible for who I am being and who I get an opportunity to be, mm-hmm. and how I should behave and how I should dress and where I should go. And then we have all those symbols as if they were the thing that gave me meaning,
right,
and well-being and comfort and stability and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing could be further from the truth. The two-legged animal can work like the Dickens and have all those things and never feel stable or comfortable or whole or fulfilled or free.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can see that all of that stuff is already present, already whole, already totally fulfilled, mm-hmm. satisfied, joyous, free. And that's the presence that has you occur calling yourself Betty.
Yep.
So coming from that, then I can be willing to do or have or be anywhere, anytime, anything, knowing that it's going to be exactly right.
Right.
As I walk on. And I find out that that is exactly true.
Okay. Excellent. And in your book on 178, you say, when you know who you are, what you seem to be becomes who you are. Humanity calls this shift in perception healing.
That's right. We look around and say, well, I knew it was the right thing to do. I got that job. Or else, Yep, blood pressure's right on, just where it should be. Or I don't know where the headache went, but it's not here anymore. And we have ways that we excuse all that stuff. But when you have lived to any degree, really, with the facts of who you really are and what has you be, and discover that the power and the presence to have everything perfect in your life is right there with you all the time. You don't even begin to credit that, because you will think that you got that job because your dad knew somebody in that company and they were willing to interview you. You think you got that healing because you found the perfect solution over here. Your friend also had the same problem, and this is what helped her, and by gum, it helped you. You have all that going on, but what that does is shortchange you, because you never get in touch with the being that you are, that has all that occur at any time you're present and need it.
And it always has been what has any of that occur, whether you know it or not.
That's right.
So why not live in the fullness of the divinity of who you are rather than giving credit falsely?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So there we go.
Yeah.
So what's another one? Why is it, what's another thing people call you for, or that you've heard people like saying, how can I get help with this?
Well, I'm going to talk about this more next week, but I've had a call this week about paying the bills.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about paying the bills next week.
Okay.
But I just wanted to have a general conversation on the standpoint when you're standing in your understanding of metaphysics.
Yeah.
You have a resource. You have it's almost like having a storage cupboard full of goodies. You have a place to go and open it up and look and say, yes, there's the answer to that one.
Right.
It's just like that. It's the opportunity to discover who you are at a level that you've never explored before.
Right.
Yeah.
On Mind is the Athlete, again, you say all belief-based action is at cross purposes with the individual's fact-based emerging self-awareness. So unpack that. Fact-based emerging self-awareness. That is a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. But those words right there, fact-based emerging self-awareness, is exactly what you're into when you, for just a second, can stop and recognize that something has you occur.
Yeah.
What in the world has individual occurrence? What is that? Nobody's been able to explain the source of thinking.
Right.
We all have the feeling that we think. We all also feel that we're conscious, and yet nobody can identify or put their finger on consciousness.
Yeah.
But it's important. And if you can see that it is an infinite resource that is whole and stands in the ground of perfection, you've got really a treasure trove present every minute with you. And you can draw on it anytime you want to. It takes acknowledgement. It takes a willingness to see Betty's got an opinion about everything. The hell with that.
Right.
Thank you for sharing, Betty. Go sit in that chair. I got other things to do.
Right. Yeah, I've got another example. So this is one from that just happened to us on our way back to Minnesota.
Okay.
So here we are in Lake Powell, and we decided.
By the way, tell them that.
Huh?
They're in a camper.
Oh, we're in our Sprinter van. So
yeah, well, they didn't know that. Tell them.
Okay, well, here I was getting there, Mother. Let me tell the story. So here we are in Lake Powell, and we had a day where we were going to rent a boat. We couldn't rent a boat, so we decided that we would go driving around. And one of the things is Lake Powell right now, or at least I guess maybe till the middle of or the end of April, is super low. So you've got to really go to get to the water. And it looks like it's close, except for you walk for 20 minutes and it's still as far away as it was when you started, or it seems that way. So we asked the guy at the campground right there at Waweep where we were staying. We asked the guy, where's a great place to get closer to the water? And he said, go down the Lone Rock. So we drove down to Lone Rock, and sure enough, this is a off-road area, and you can go in, and we have a national park pass. So in we went, and then there was these, it was all just dirt roads, right? But dirt roads with lots of sand. So we were driving in, and I was really careful, and we kind of glided across some of the heavier sand, and we kept going, and I was like, okay, good. And then we turned, and we were kind of evaluating, well, where should we park? And so Jen looked, and she was like, well, if we go all the way down there to the end, we can get around and get even closer to the water. So there where we went. So as we're going along and we're just driving along, we got to this place where you're starting to see like where it's solid and where there's sand and blah, blah, blah. Well, anyways, we kind of got in a little bit of a miscommunication, and I turned right into some deep sand. Sand up to the axles. We were going nowhere except for deeper into the sand. So we sat there, and for a little bit, we kind of was like, well, why didn't you listen to me? Well, I did listen to you. And then finally, I just calmed down, and I sat there. And I said, well, here we are. And there was tons of people around, right? So there was a guy who took the spot we were heading to that pulled into it, but we got stuck, so we didn't get there. And he turned around and he looked at us, and they kept looking at us. And so finally I opened my door and I stepped out into the sand, and I could see that halfway up our axle, like all the way up our tire, we were in the sand, like deep sand. So I just kind of was like, what are we going to do? So then this guy walks over and he says, do you need a push? And I said, I don't know that a push will help, but sure, let's try a push. Well, sure enough, in our Sprinter van with all of our camp stuff and all that, you can't push out of that in this deep sand, but we tried. Nothing going. But then come up right behind us. So then this gal comes across with a shovel because she's parked in her camper over here. She walks up with a shovel and she starts shoveling out and helping us kind of get stuff dug out a little bit. So we tried that. We tried to back up. No go. So we kept doing all this stuff. Well, then a 4x comes up, this guy and his wife and kids are in the back or whatever. And he says, well, I don't really have a tow rope, but if you had one, we could pull you out. And so then this other guy showed up with a tow rope. So we hooked the tow rope up, and then this other guy had a littler tow rope. We hooked that up to the other side, and then he pulled us out, and I was backing up. And then I learned, oh my God, I got to stop before I hit the guy because he stopped. But we were literally out of the sand, and it took about no less than 15 minutes from when we got stuck to when we were out. But I tell you what, when we were stuck and arguing and about that, there was no solution coming to the fore. But as soon as we started to go, wait a minute, and we started to look, help came from all over the place. And we were out like boom.
And there was a willingness to work with whatever help came.
That's right. We were willing to kind of be stuck and realize there's a solution. Somewhere there's a solution. And sure enough, there we are. So no worries. We got out. So that's one story. And then let's look at, mine is the athlete. You say, as awareness evolves, an expanding conscious sense of yourself emerges.
Yeah, you begin to get, so you can rely on that self that you didn't know anything about a while back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a more solid place to hang your hat, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very fun. As you start to really play with this stuff, and maybe it's little things, and then you go, and then it's a bigger thing, and you go, wow. So what's another one? What are other things people are asking for help about or wondering, can scientific metaphysics handle this?
Well, we've covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, let's look at another statement that you made. As attachments to concepts fades, discomfort, dissatisfaction, and upsets that may have been present for you are dispelled.
For years.
Are present for years are dispelled.
Yeah. The thing is, when you learn to start looking to the presence that you are rather than the physical appearance, it's amazing how many things show up that you can let go of, that limit you, that restrict you, that keep you from being free and joyous and whole. And they aren't necessarily something that you would have thought of. You wouldn't have described it as part of the way you are. But stuff that's been present for years becomes invisible, but it doesn't keep it from limiting you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of stuff that kind of comes up as you go along discovering who you really are. And that stuff just fades away, and you find yourself increasingly free in areas that you weren't even looking for.
Right. Right. So at any rate, I think we can safely say that really applying metaphysical science can work in any area and any aspect with whatever is confronting you. For more information, you can go to our website at scientificmetaphysics.org, and you can check out you can get Mind as the Athlete, you can get Christian Science Re-Explored, both of which we've quoted. You can also see the programs and different things you can participate in, or different things that you can purchase of the materials that help you really dive more deeply into metaphysical science and scientific metaphysics, however you want to phrase it.
We also have an open mic the first Sunday of every month. Right. So there's one coming up in May.
Right. And those are free to attend. You just have to register, and you'll get a link. So anyways, there's all kinds of ways. So if there's anything that you would like us to cover, just let us know. You can tell us in many different ways. If you have any questions, just type a question into the comments and we can answer that. And if this has been valuable to you, we love the hearts and we love the thumbs up. So you can do that. At any rate, we're done for today. That's our episode. We're going to wrap it up. And we will be here again next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Central. So until then, take care, and we'll see you, and apply metaphysical science to whatever comes up for you.
Yeah, give it a try.